Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the Clallam EDC Coffee Chat, Coffee with Colleen. We appreciate you joining us. And today we're excited to have Mary Irwin from the Peninsula Dispute Resolution Center join us today. She's going to talk all about what they do for our community, and it's such an essential service. Before we get going, though, I ask that you keep yourself on mute. I'm muting people now as they come in. And also, if you have any questions of Mary, please feel free to ask. We'd like this to be interactive. You can either raise your hand and we'll call on you, or alternatively, if you prefer to put your question in the chat, you can do it that way and we'll ask the question for you. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mary Irwin. And again, thanks so much, Mary, for all you do and for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Colleen, and thank you for having me. It's really, I'm excited to be here. I wanted to share a little bit about our organization and the work that we do, and we call ourselves PDRC, so that's less of a mouthful, but I'll interchangeably use our full name and our abbreviated name for everybody. So thank you for welcoming me. So to begin, hang on a second, I need to just get my mouse where it knows what I'm doing. So I wanted to share, first of all, we're a nonprofit agency and we have an amazing board of directors. So we just recently had an election and our new president is Trisha Haggerty. Some of you may know her with her work through the college and the school board out in Joyce, yes, and a lot of other work that she does here in the community. Wonderful, wonderful woman. Then our new vice president is Lindy Clevenger. Some of you may know her as well. She worked with the Superior Court for, I think, over 20 years, maybe 30 years, but spectacular woman and glad to have her. Jason Hooper is our new secretary. Some of you know Jason through his work with Fort Angeles Police Department. He's the school resource officer, and so having him as a board member is a terrific resource for us. We have a treasurer named Peggy Simmons, who works at the state level in finance. Another board member named Julie Chambers has been with the Peninsula College Foundation for years and has been with us also for some time, as is our past president, Dr. Joe Floyd, who's a trustee with the college. And some of you know him with his instrumental work he was the foundation board president when the money first came in for the Field Art and Events Center. So really a tremendous mediator as well in his own right. Our immediate past president is Mark Hodgson. He's also currently on the, well, he works in the county and works for the State Patrol. And then last but not least, we have a new board member named Mae Nicholson, who's a native to the Sequim area and retired JAG attorney. So that's my board of directors. I have a staff of, there are 4 of us full-time employees. So we are a 501c3 organization. There's myself and 3 other employees. We have a team of volunteer mediators. I believe right now we have 9 fully certified mediators that volunteer their services. We also have a large group of practicum students who are in training to become mediators. Peninsula Dispute Resolution Center was established in 1992 by our founders, Bill and Carol Knieb. Some of you remember them. They were really instrumental in creating Peninsula Dispute Resolution Center. And I think it's neat that it's a nonprofit agency that's been around for that many years. And as all nonprofits, it kind of has its ups and its downs as far as what they're doing in the community and how active they are. We have enjoyed a tremendous amount of time helping folks in this area. So I'm proud of that. Peninsula Dispute Resolution Center is part of Resolution Washington, which is one of 21 dispute resolution centers in the state of Washington, representing the 39 counties. Peninsula Dispute Resolution Center serves Clallam and Jefferson counties. A lot of people don't realize that. We have a bigger presence in Clallam County because of the size. I've been making a huge effort, though, since I've have been in this role or in the acting role, to reach out to Jefferson County as well. So Resolution Washington is a membership organization that supports us at the state level. They manage our funding from Department of Commerce and help us with keeping stats, staying organized. One thing that's interesting is that they don't, however, manage how we do our work. So each individual center is managed by their own board of directors, and the executive director manages the services that we provide, as long as they're in keeping with our mandate from the RCW 7.07, which deals in mediation. So I'm not going to read all of these numbers to you. I think that's a little bit boring, but I thought it would be interesting for you to see on a state level what we've been doing. And now I'll share a bit about what we've been doing. Here in Clallam and Jefferson County in 2024, if you can see, I'm sorry for the light colors on this chart. It comes from my software that we use to track our cases, and they're not terribly eye friendly. So I converted up above in the corner in dark black the numbers that I think will help all of us who have poor eyesight. So in 2024, we had 169 cases that were self-referred. We had 109 that were sent from the Superior Court, 72 from small claims or district court, 16 from district court that weren't small claims. And then I'll have to move my thing over a little bit. 22 were referred from law enforcement, 16 from our website, 16 from nonprofit agencies, 10 attorney referrals, 9 from the schools, and 10 that came from other places not listed. So I think that's kind of interesting to narrow down where our cases are starting from.
So Mary, in Superior Court, is that usually divorce cases?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Modification of parenting plans are that primary source. We offer dissolution of marriage, and I'll mention that we are not attorneys or practicing any sort of law or giving any legal advice, but we're able to help with dissolution of marriage and modification of parenting plans, and sometimes even helping folks build their parenting plan from scratch. And so those are referred through the county, yes. So some of the other services, I'll just kind of give an overview, a brief overview of what we do, and then I'll go into greater detail for each one. So we offer mediations, which are facilitated negotiations with a third-party neutral, such as myself or one of our other mediators. We do group facilitations, which are sort of like a mediation for a big group. They can also just be a meeting facilitation. So for example, if you have a workplace that has maybe some turmoil going on, maybe 10 employees, there isn't necessarily 2 people that are having an issue, but rather a bigger group, we'll create a training just for your organization to work on communication and whatever else we find is necessary. We do trainings in the community. We have a service called conflict coaching, and we also have a couple of different youth services we provide. So our mission of Peninsula Dispute Resolution Center is to promote and provide for the peaceful resolution of conflict through modeling, facilitation, and teaching mediation in Clallam and Jefferson counties. So that's what we endeavor to do.
So Mary, real quick, yeah, maybe you're going to get into it with mediation. I know oftentimes with contracts between parties, it will say, you'll try to negotiate something. If that doesn't work, go to mediation or arbitration. Is that something that PDRC offers, or is it only for personal issues?
That's a great question. And yes, you do notice that a lot of times in contracts, it will mention that before you could go to court, that you would go to mediation or arbitration. And we could mediate cases like that as long as we're not in the position of needing to interpret contract law, we don't do that. But usually when you look at those big contracts, like your cell phone contract or something like that, they have mediators that they use from agencies like the American Mediation Association, et cetera. So we generally do things that are more community-based, but that's a great question.
Right, thank you.
Of course. So as I mentioned before, mediation is generally 2 parties. Sometimes we'll have a mediation where there will be 4 parties at the table, but generally there are 2 parties that sit down and have a facilitated conversation. And what the mediators do is they're there to help what I kind of say is usher people through a conversation using particular skills that we have, power balancing, reality checking, and assisting with agreement writing. And this mediation is really, really helpful when there's going to be a relationship that's at play past the conflict. And so when somebody doesn't want to necessarily ruin the relationship by going to court and having an adversarial trial, they will work through an agreement together. And this is often the case when we're talking about parenting plans, where after everything's said and done, the parents are still the parents and the children are still the children. So preserving the relationship is important. Some common types of mediations that we offer in addition to parenting plan or dissolution of marriage are also the small claim mediations in Clallam and Jefferson County. So a lot of people don't realize this, but every time somebody files a case in small claims, whether it be business or a personal issue, when they first go to small claims, they don't immediately see the judge and have a trial. The first thing that they are asked to do is to attempt to mediate the case. And we have a really strong partnership with our district courts here in Clallam and Jefferson County. We also do neighborhood disputes, homeowners association, barking dogs, the bright light in your eyes. Those are pretty common. And then workplace disputes where we have individual employees that are struggling with relationships or communication. We're able to come in and assist in a confidential fashion. One of the things that's important to know is that mediations are always voluntary. Nobody's ever required. There are very few sorts of mediations that are required. What is required is sometimes that you try to mediate, but once they're in the mediation, they're free to leave at any time.
Right. So we have a couple questions in the chat for you, Mary. First, Lori asks, is a guardian ad litem a part of your organization?
That's a great question. They aren't. They're often mentioned, but no, the guardian ad litem is a different program that acts to represent children's best interests. And although in mediation, we say that we are not there to advocate for anybody, we do advocate for children, but we do not do so in the way that a guardian ad litem does. That's a good question.
Right. And then John asks, why would someone call on you? Typical challenges that you help resolve. What would someone do if you were not available?
So first question was what sorts of people call? Was that the question? What sorts of cases or reasons?
Yeah. Why would someone call on you? Give some typical challenges that you resolved.
Absolutely, yes. So we get a lot of calls with parents that have already divorced and they have a parenting plan. And those of you who aren't aware of, a parenting plan is that sort of lays out how 2 people will parent their children, from making medical decisions to academic decisions, perhaps there are so many different things that are outlined, who will spend Christmas with the children, et cetera. So we get a lot of calls, especially right before the school year starts, right before school ends, and right before holidays. We have a huge influx of calls with people trying to sort out what this parenting plan means. It's very common to have 2 people interpret it differently. So they'll call us and set up a mediation to discuss how to better understand or further clarify their parenting plan. We will have people call, really common. The sheriff's department, we work in collaboration with them. They'll have people that are really struggling with maybe a property line dispute or that their fence post is on somebody else's property and it doesn't rise to the level of needing the sheriff's department to intervene, but they certainly need to have a discussion about how to move forward. And so that's something that we've seen. So really anything that you can be in a dispute about, folks will call and ask for our help. And then the second part of your question was, where would they go if we weren't here? That's a really a great question. As I don't know, maybe on my third slide, I mentioned that we helped, I believe we had 400 some odd cases opened in 2024. Those 400 people would either be clogging up the courts, they would have to pay much higher rates for mediation, or they wouldn't solve their problem at all. So I think that we are invaluable to the community. We offer, and I'll discuss this later, but we offer all of our services are provided at low or no cost on a sliding fee schedule. So Peninsula Dispute Resolution Center certainly isn't here to make a lot of money. We're here to serve the community with those services. And Colleen, will you call on people or do you want me to keep track of hands up? I see that Dr. Maxwell has his hand up.
Hi,
So there we go.
Hi, good to see you again, Mary.
Yep.
I just had a question. You mentioned that one of the goals is to get a mutually acceptable agreement. How often does those end up in a written agreement, and if so, are those considered legally enforceable documents in that case?
Yeah, really terrific question. Thanks for asking that. Yes, I would say with small claims cases, about 50% of the cases resolve through a settlement agreement, which is a legally binding document. So for example, if you take somebody to small claims because they didn't repair your car the way that you liked and you're suing them for $5,000, if you come to an agreement in mediation and it's agreed that the mechanic, I'm just using that one as an example, will repay you $5,000 over a period of time, we submit that settlement agreement to the courts, and it is legally binding. And if a person defaults, then I can't say what the judge will do, but it's my understanding that the judge will apply a default judgment that would be on that person's, I think, credit and in the court system. And then with our other cases, I'd say that we have, I'd say a good 80% or higher in settlement agreements. Most modification of parenting plans result in a settlement agreement that they can either hold on to themselves, or they can also have, through the court process, have it submitted to their parenting plan. And again, it is a legally binding document. Yes. Great question. Thank you. Okay.
And we have a couple more questions in the chat for you. Actually, just one more. How often do small businesses use your services? Business to business, business to clients, etc.
Well, I'd have to go back and look at the numbers, but I would say that it's probably 10% of what we do would be to help small businesses or businesses. I think part of the reason that is a lot of people aren't aware of what we do. And I attribute that to the fact that the nature of what we do is confidential. And so you won't see me in the grocery store talking about the cases that I've mediated. I won't even acknowledge that I know somebody. And so I think that there's been a kind of a veil of secrecy about mediation because of that confidentiality. And I'm really trying to change that. I will continue to never mention who my clients are, but I want to say that we're helping a lot of people in the community, as was noted, that if we opened, over 400 cases in 2024, and in years, that's been our biggest year since 2021 and 2022 because of the eviction resolution pilot program, which was entirely another beast. But we are doing a lot of work in the community, and helping businesses is something that we do and we want to do. Thanks for that question. So the next thing I wanted to share is that we offer trainings. That's part of our mission. And so some of the trainings that we offer a 40-hour basic mediation training 3 times a year. That's the most we've ever offered it before. This year we'll offer 2 in Clallam County and 1 in Jefferson County. I usually shoot to have about 12 students in each training. We have one coming up at the very end of March, early April in Clallam County. I believe there are 2 spots open. You can go to our website if you're interested in the training, and we do offer scholarships. United Way generously has given us a grant that pays for scholarships for folks in Clallam County to attend the training at low or no cost if they need that. We also have communication trainings that are created to suit your needs. So for example, I might go into an organization and do a 4-hour training teaching about conflict style and communication skills for people who maybe don't have 40 hours to spare in their busy day. We have a We're in This Together training program through Clallam County Juvenile Services. I'll share a little bit more about that. And then also a peer mediation program at Stevens Middle School. So we offer quite a few different trainings. Does anybody have any questions about those trainings, or should I move on?
There was a question in the chat, but not about the trainings, about are the agreements legally binding if there isn't an active court case on the issue?
They are a legally binding settlement agreement, yes.
Okay, whether or not there was a court case. Okay, thank you.
So group facilitations I think are really fun. It's an opportunity for us to use the skills that we have to benefit more than just 2 people at a time. So we do group facilitations for nonprofit boards, annual retreats, workplace disputes, team building, and strategic planning. Something that I really enjoy, working with a couple of groups right now to create specialized facilitations for them. So that's something that we enjoy.
Is that something you can talk about afterwards? You know, I would think that. So can you share some of the different nonprofits that you've done some strategic planning or team building activities with?
You know, unfortunately, I can't give the names of the organizations that we've helped, because part of our work with them is dealing in conflict that they may be having within their organization. So we tend not to share the names. If they were to share the name, that would be great, but we don't. We actually, with our attendees, we sign a mediation agreement with them the same as we would with a full mediation. So I'm not able to share their names.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. We have a couple of really exciting youth programs here in Clallam County. The first one is called We're in This Together, or the WIT training. We provide this training in collaboration with Clallam County Juvenile Services. It's a coordination of services program that was created at the state level through DCYF. And essentially what it is a diversion program for kids that are low level. They're at kind of low level for reoffending, small, I don't really know how to explain them. Crimes, I guess. I think they're low level crimes, and these diversion programs are evidence-based program that helps kids remove something or keep something off of their record if they attend the seminar. It's really fun. If anybody would like to know more about that later, I'd love to share it. But we do a full weekend, so a 12-hour seminar with kids and their connected adults. So it could be a parent, a grandparent, an aunt, or an uncle. And they come in and learn about boundary setting, basic banking, bookkeeping, personal budgeting. They learn about making good decisions, about communication skills. So we have a number of agencies here in the community that come in and help with those. We do those 4 times a year. Pretty exciting program. And the second youth program that we offer is a pilot program that we have right now at Stevens Middle School. PDRC received a generous grant to begin a youth program, and we did so by creating this program out at Stevens Middle School. It's a peer mediation program. We had in the beginning 30 youth mediators that were trained last fall, and I think right now we have about 24. It's just through attrition, a few fell off, but we've mediated out. Well, we don't mediate, the kids actually mediate, which is the exciting part. And so we'll head out to Stevens Middle School daily if they need it, but they haven't had that many conflicts, which is exciting. And the kids will mediate conflicts that surround bullying, kind of just interpersonal relationships between the kids, none between students and teachers, just kids. But that's an exciting program that we're offering. So we are going to be working with Jefferson County. They also have an interest in the program.
So Mary, Rebecca says that she works with a small business that does mediation and training, and asks, do you subcontract any of your work?
Can you repeat the question for me? Thank you.
Sure. Rebecca says she works with a small business that does mediation and training, and she asks, do you subcontract any of your work?
No, not really, because we use volunteers for our mediators, so we don't need to subcontract. I believe that some of the DRCs and that's dispute resolution centers in other areas do have contract mediators, and we could be interested in that at some point. But we don't tend to subcontract because we have a very specific style of mediation that we use. So for example, we use facilitative mediation. I'm not sure what style Rebecca uses, but we have particular standards that we need to adhere to. So using other agency mediators doesn't work well for us. Did that answer the question?
Yes.
Terrific. Okay. So we have some local court programs that we mediate for. We mediate for Clallam County District Courts 1 and 2 small claims. And we also do civil protection order mediations, which I'll explain to you. Sometimes if two parties are in a disagreement or they have a conflict and one party asks to have a restraining order or protection order placed by the courts, and the bench doesn't find that there's reason to have a protection order, what they'll do is let the parties know that if they would like to have a mediation to discuss the issue at hand, they can come to us. And that's been really interesting and a neat thing to see. So often you would think it would be a bad idea for these people to come together in a room if they're in that much conflict, but I've seen some really beautiful outcomes where people have been really at odds with one another and they come to an agreement on how they might move forward, and the conflict kind of disappears. So that's neat. We do Clallam County District Court 2, so that's Forks. We also do their small claims. They don't have a ton, but when they do, we love to help them. And then Superior Court Family Mediations, which we discussed earlier, and then Jefferson County Small Claims Court and Family Mediations also. These are all voluntary, as I mentioned previously. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what we can do for you all. Most of you, I think, that are here today are involved in businesses in the community. We do provide workplace mediations. We do communication trainings. We do group facilitations, and we do board retreats. And I would love to help any of you. If you're interested in those services, you're certainly welcome to reach out to me here. If you go to our website, there's a contact form that you can fill out, or you can just call me. So that's the gist of my presentation. If anybody has any questions for me, I would love to answer them.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Mary, for that exceptional presentation. We really appreciate it. Does anyone have any follow-up questions for Mary?
I got a question. It seems like you have a pretty strong team of volunteers and potentially student practicums. Where do you source these volunteers from?
Yes, where we source them through is through that training. So the 3-hour basic mediation training that we offer 3 times a year, if there are 12 students there, I am pleased if I get 1 or 2 practicum students, and then those trickle into becoming our volunteer mediators, board members, etc. So it's really win-win. People get these communication skills, and then we get volunteers.
So Mary, did I understand that all of it is pro bono, or is there a pricing schedule?
We do have a fee schedule, and I don't have it in front of me right now, but it is a sliding fee schedule based on federal income, poverty. And honestly, we like people to, if somebody had no money if we would want them to pay something, even if it was $5, just so that there's a buy-in and value to what we're offering. But what they pay is not as important to us as that they receive services. We don't turn anybody away.
Great. John has asked what kind of board resolutions?
What was the question?
Go ahead, John, do you want to ask? Oh, you're still on mute, John.
What kind of board resolutions? Just curious what that would be.
What sort of board resolutions have we seen? So are you asking if, for example, if we did a mediation for a nonprofit board, what sorts of resolutions have they come to? I'm not certain of your question.
Yeah, nonprofit or profit. So what kind of resolution within the board would you be resolving?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, without mentioning any particular nonprofit, I'll share an example of a board that we helped some years back. That the board was a large board, let's say 12 people, and there were two really strong personalities. One was a member of a director, and one was I think a board president. And there was a whole lot of conflict between those two people. And they ended up having their own mediation and coming to kind of an agreement on how they would deal with each other moving forward. And then they ended up having a board facilitation where they all kind of got on the same page. And so that's an example of how it could help a nonprofit board with communication techniques, etc. Thank you for that question.
And Rebecca asks, can you speak to the basic tenets of the type of mediation PDRC teaches? And she's researching that for her client.
Absolutely. We use the facilitative model. If Rebecca, if you're familiar at all, there are several different types of mediation. So for example, one that's really popular with some folks is called transformative mediation. And that's where there's a lot more attention paid to sort of a transformation of people's kind of thoughts and feelings. And it's more, I guess we call it touchy-feely. And then there are mediations that, if some of you have ever been to a mediation where you have an attorney mediator, it's much more directive. It's less of a process where you're what you think and want are the outcome, and more what the attorney tells you is the smartest thing to do to protect yourself. And then what we offer is facilitative mediation. So what that is we're facilitating our clients to have an outcome that they are directing. We find that those results are much more lasting when people have buy-in and they're making their own decisions.
So Mary, I remember a friend that was going through a divorce, and they went through a formal mediation process with I think it was a judge, and they were in separate rooms. And the judge would go speak to one party and then come back, 20 minutes later, and after they had spoken to the other party. That's not at all a type of thing that you guys get into. It's always, everyone's always in the same room.
So you're speaking of a shuttle mediation, and
Okay.
those are really common when both parties have an attorney, and then they have a mediator who's also an attorney, and that's called a shuttle mediation. And actually, we do shuttle mediations. They are not our go-to, because we do believe that getting people in the same room that are going to have long-standing relationships, if it's preferable. But if we have a case where somebody is frightened, or there are any kind of allegations of either abuse or just serious discomfort, or they've been in high conflict for so long that they're not able to talk to each other, we do shuttle mediations. It's just not our first choice, but we do offer them.
Mitch?
Yeah, I know you have a physical location in Port Angeles. Do you typically have these meetings there, or do you meet the party where they're at?
Yes, both. So we are, if you're familiar with Bill Lindbergh, he's an architect that built the building at 319 South Peabody. We have a brick and mortar there, and we do have a conference room and a mediation room here in the building. We used to, when I say used to, prior to the pandemic, mediated only in person with maybe 1 or 2 phone mediations a year. And then when the pandemic hit, we went completely to online or virtual mediations. And now we're back to, I don't know, I'd say 50-50. People like to come together, and sometimes it's more convenient to meet people where they're at. So we do both.
I know there's a lot of people on boards here. What's a typical board retreat program look like?
Oh, yes. Well, I have a board retreat coming up for a nonprofit agency here in the community that will be about 7 hours, 8 with lunch. And they will come to our conference room, and we will provide lunch, snacks, coffee for an additional charge. And the morning will be 4 hours of strategy, so talking about what their vision is, so strategic planning. And then the afternoon will be conflict style, learning about their own personal conflict styles and communication techniques.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. It's fun. I enjoy that.
All right, does anyone else have any further questions for Mary? Okay.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, well, it's really a wonderful service that you provide for the community. And you're right, I think people don't think of it as often as they could or should. So we'll keep you in mind, certainly.
Thank you so much. It's a
Yeah.
privilege to be here. I saw John raised his hand again. Did you have another question?
Yeah, what is a typical person's characteristics that would come to you to do the training? What is that individual, both that you would like and that would like to do this? What's that person like?
I think everybody could benefit, and we welcome everybody. I see we've had teenagers before, or early 20s, all the way up to folks in their 70s and beyond. And I don't think that there is a typical. I think anybody who's interested in learning about communication skills and conflict management would be welcome. And we want our volunteer mediators to be representative of our community. So for us, diversity and kind of age, everything would be really welcome. We actually have fewer male mediators than we do females. So we're always looking for somebody who we would love anybody. That's my answer.
Great. Yeah, and Lena shares that PDRC is a great asset to the community. Conflict resolution training is a great training for work groups as well. Thanks for your work.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Well,
really for having me.
Yeah, and we're excited to have you as part of the community. So keep up all the great work, you and your team.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. And we're going to end it here. Enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks again, Mary.